Here's a video about things that can go wrong and things that can go right at the same time. So it's kind of a yin-yang thing. It's like a Chinese balance thing. And it's something that you need to think about when doing a garden. Because there's always things that's going to go wrong, but at the same time, they can go right. It's like the weather. The weather can be good for it. It can be bad for it. So, I'm not really going to talk about plants or anything at the moment. I'm going to talk about the weather. Like, there's seasons. And then in the seasons, you got different plants that can grow at different times of the year. Some grow in the spring, some grow in the summer, and some grow even in the winter time. But most people don't plant during the fall. They don't plant in the winter time. Most people plant in the spring and the summer. So there are things that can actually grow clear into winter time, and that is spinach and lettuce and stuff like that. Like those onions over there, those have been growing. Those things over there, they've been growing like 3 years in a row, and they're like way bigger than I expected them to be. Thinking about just using that as a seed collector and just planting onions around the yard, and then I could have onions to eat all year long, just growing all around the yard. Okay, and now we're going to talk about fertilizer. So you need fertilizer in your plants. You have to have it in there all the time, but fertilizer really comes in handy when it comes to your plants growing a little healthier than just straight planting it in the dirt. And like every year after you do something, and then there's something that farmers do. They have something called I used to know the name of it, but anyways, where they swap their lots. They'll grow something in one year in one area, and then they'll grow another year in another area, and they'll plant stuff like clover in the lot so that they can plow it all up the next year, and then they'll have fertilized dirt where the stuff can actually grow. Because if you keep using it over and over, you deplete the soil of all of its nutrients, and your plants won't grow. Yeah, and then there's also natural and store-bought fertilizers, because a lot of people do stuff like composting, and then they'll take old plants and stuff and they throw it all in a pile, and then they let it kind of burn up. And what it does is it gets real hot, and it decomposes itself and turns into dirt. And you wouldn't believe it, but this whole thing right here used to be a fire pit, but it don't look like a fire pit anymore. Everything grows in it real good because everything that was in the ground decomposed, and within a year everything started growing back in that plot again. And you would be surprised how fast stuff grows. And I burned fires in there for many years, like 10-15 years in that area. Now we're burning right over here, so you wouldn't believe it, but in a year that whole area would be back grass again. Okay, now we're going to talk about the animals and bugs and birds and bugs and animals that are going to get into your garden and destroy your stuff. And you're thinking like it's all bad, everything's going to destroy your garden, but there's actually good bugs that go in there and help your garden, like ladybugs and praying mantises. They'll go in there and they'll eat up the other bugs that are trying to get in your so when you're spraying for bugs, you're actually killing some of your predator bugs off too. So with a small thing like this is simple, because you can actually just walk around to your plants, your pots. Like I left little areas where I could walk through, places where I can get to easy. Like on the edge of this, stuff's going to be growing, and then right in here I left a little path for me to walk if I don't trip over anything. And I can just walk right through here, and I see a green beans popping up right there. There's one that was already, I think that might be a, what was that? Oh, pickle. So that'd be a cucumber, yeah. So here's one that's already popped up, and it's still coming up, but got hurt a little bit by the snow. And that's what I'm saying, like even in the weather, you just have freak things that happen in the weather that you're not expecting. Because I planted out here many years, and I've always caught the time when the snow ended, but this year, snow came back and destroyed a bit of my stuff. And I'm gonna admit it, that I planted too early, and there is my pepper plants, and they are destroyed by that snow. And I only planted 8 of them. There's 4 in there. The flowers are doing all right though. If you look, they're doing pretty good actually. And these right here got destroyed. It's all just pepper plants. So I planted some spinach in there, and they're probably gonna overgrow where the peppers was, unless the peppers decide to come back up. And every year I end up breathing in a bit of pollen and I start coughing and stuff, but right now I'm doing all right, so I decided to make a video. And I added these extra little lights here. Those are gonna be kind of cute when they come on at night after the sun goes down. So there's some blue ones there and some green ones over here. The flowers are still doing okay, and especially these down here, these did excellent today. These are popping up all pretty and beautiful, looking good. Some red ones over there, some blue ones in the corner. So look like they got beat up a little bit. There was snow all over everything. So anyways, I decided on the edge of this, I planted some banana peppers, some spinach, and some other type of banana pepper. What did I do? Oh, over here in the front tires, I dug it back up because I think everything got destroyed in it. And I planted some something I've never grown before, broccoli. So I'm gonna grow some broccoli this year, see if some of that comes up. By the package, it says you really need to start everything inside. I guess they must be a really warm type of plant, but I went ahead and just put it in the dirt. We'll see what happens, if it survives or not. And this is the one that always comes up first, and the flowers always disappear within a week or 2. And then it's just a green plant. Let's see what else. Anything else on my list? Oh yeah, so I was gonna talk about the birds, the bugs, and the animals. So like down here on the ground, I mean, especially when you got a big garden, you just can't keep an eye on everything. But when you have something small like this, it's a little easier. Like when you have the raised pots and stuff, it's a little harder for rabbits and stuff to mess with it. But anything you plant in this area here on the ground, it's going to be easier for the animals. So you got to keep an eye on stuff, and maybe even put like a raised fence to try to keep them from getting in there. So may have to do that later on in the year. Get me something a little taller, keep the rabbits from just waltzing through. And birds. So something I was going to talk about birds. My brother, he's wanting to put these damn bird feeders out here, and I've had it happen before. I put bird feeders out, and the birds would get into the seeds, and once they would get some seeds on the ground, the birds start going to the ground, then they start getting in your pots or on the ground over here, and they start chewing on your plants. I've seen them, and they don't poke little holes, they chew your stuff all to pieces. So he got this bird feeder over here, and I told him don't put it anywhere over here by the garden, because once it does, the birds will start getting all in the stuff and tearing everything up. And you can believe it or not, but I've learned from experience myself. Then you got squirrels and deer. Deer chewed up my trees up in the front. So we replanted some different type of trees, something that they weren't so used to. I'm not even in the country. I'm like in the middle of the city, but as you see, I got a lot of trees in my yard. And even though my house is a piece of crap, I've still got a house. So, and this is my brother's. He finally did till it up. I don't know if he's going to plant anything or not. He's got a lot of tree seeds that's all in his garden right now. He did till it up real good though. You can see it's tilled up real nice. But he needs to plant the seeds, because if he waits too long, all the stuff's gonna grow, and then by the time it's collection season, what do you call that? Harvest season, then it's going to be too late for him, and everything's going to be frozen in the snow. You can't wait too long up north. Now down south, you got a longer growing season, so you can actually grow a couple times a year down south. Depends on how far south you are, because like, let's say you live in Arabia or something where it's hot all the time, you can grow all year long. Just put a bunch of pots out on your little bit of land, but you got to water a lot more when it's hot out in places like that. So, you know, got to be prepared for all the things that can go wrong. Let's see, I've had squirrels dig in my stuff. Rabbits, like I had some lettuce all along this area here where it's kind of like tarped down a little bit, and they went through and they ate every single bit of my lettuce up, all the way to the nub, to the ground. I didn't have nothing. So that was a mistake. You really got to keep an eye out, or you just got to build up a barrier or build them up a little taller, because rabbits, they get too skittish and scary and they'll run off. But anything on the ground, they'll chew it all up. And okay, so like bugs, I've had stink bugs get in my stuff and be chewing, and caterpillars. Caterpillars are the worst, you know. So if you see any of those, you better stomp them in the ground, because if they start breeding and eating all your stuff up, there'll be a bunch of them in there and they'll chew all your stuff up. I've had all my leaves chewed up one year, and I kept finding caterpillars on everything, and stink bugs will chew your plants up too. But like you see ladybugs and stuff, just leave them alone. Leave praying mantises, they don't hurt your plants at all. They actually like to just eat the bugs that are messing around on your plants. So try to get as many as them you can. And I noticed, even in some of my, like the tires over there, I found worms in my dirt. And worms really do help break down the dirt and fertilizer as it goes on. See, I'll be finding little stuff that had burned in here. Got to keep pulling it out so that the plants work a little bit better, grow a little bit better. Got to keep all this stuff out of here so the plant's roots are able to root better. I just throw a little anything metal I got over here in the pile. Well, that was a fun video to talk about, because, you know, I've been watching a lot of other people's videos, and it's a lot of the things that they talk about, but they're usually planting things while they're doing it. But I just thought I'd make a little video, especially for like new people that doing gardens, just starting out, all the things that they're going to run into, because they think starting a homestead, it's going to be easy as can be, you know, doing their little garden, and it's going to be as fun and games. But there's going to be a lot of things that go wrong too, and it's good to get a little start of what things can go wrong and what things you can correct before you start out, so it ain't such a hard deal when things do go wrong. So you can like keep coming back to the video and get an idea of all the things that can go wrong. So what, like the weather, yeah, that's another thing I was going to talk about at the beginning, was the weather. Because things that can go wrong, it's like droughts, like no water coming down at all. This is easy for us, but for a farmer that's got a big garden, you actually got to go through with like either an irrigation system or a watering machine, and driving your tractor over everything and watering everything. And because a drought can really destroy a garden. And like I say, one big frost like this, their whole season is gone, and they were trying to make all that money. I remember the episode of Little House on the Prairie where Charles had planted a bunch of wheat, and he thought to himself, hey, I got a bunch of wheat, I'm going to make a bunch of money, and this is what's going to save us for the year, all the money that we're going to need to survive. And then a big hailstorm came through, destroyed all of his wheat, and he had to walk like many miles to go work in a quarry just to make enough money for them to survive for the year. Then Caroline got out there, and they beat a little bit of the rice up off the ground, and they got a little bit of money out of it, but not what they needed to survive. And that's what I'm saying, is like, if you're going to try to use the survive on, you better realize things can go wrong drastically to where it destroys your whole season, and then you got to put money back into it to replant and restart all over again, especially a beginning frost, because you can actually dig it back up again and replant and start all over again if you got the money to And it depends on how big the garden is, how much money. Like, I've already spent like $300 this year just for seeds and some more pots and more dirt. So it takes money to make money, just like in anything. And just being aware of all the things that can go wrong is one of the most important things. Trying to figure out what needs to be done to make everything a little more successful. So thanks for watching my video, and till the next video, thank you for watching.